Hey, so today I thought I would do a tour of my reptile room. I have various, that's a hamster. He is in here because he's loud at night. His name is Lava. I'll start with my rack that I just recently set up. I was inspired by Reptile Garden to get this, and unfortunately I sort of didn't measure the shelves fully, so I have not a whole lot of great space to get in to take care of my banana ball, but I can pull it out a little bit. Top row, I have my leopard gecko, Frankie. There she is. She's just eating some worms. I have her, for those of you that are curious, on in a 20-gallon front opening tank, and she really loves to climb. Leopard geckos, I have found in my experience, love to climb, so I have these two small Reptile hammocks for her, and I've kind of partnered them on top of each other, and she really loves them. She has her mossy hide in the skull house, her mealworms, which looks like she's already decimated, and a hide over here that has a heat mat under and running into here. This light is just a standard, actually fish tank light that I got just to have on so I could see her better, but I don't have anything on her as far as lights go. And she seems to be really happy with that. I have had leopard geckos before that I did different UVs with, because there's a lot of different material out there that says yes UV, no UVs, but I found that just having them with heat mats has been the best health-wise for mine. And of course she's on the Reptile carpet, so the heat mats are underneath the Reptile carpet. So that is Frankie. And next to her, I have one of my foster ball pythons. Kind of a temporary habitat. He's a baby that I picked up from a PetSmart who adopted him out to a reptile group that I'm fostering for. I have found that you can use habitats like these, little Tupperwares, as long as you poke holes in them with I had a metal soldering iron that I put the plastic holes in the plastic, and of course he has a water dish and a hide in there on substrate to give him some moisture to help him shed. It's pretty ambient temperature in this room. It stays pretty warm from all my lights, so once it gets cooler I'll more than likely move him into a tank that I can put a heat mat on, but right now with plastic I wouldn't want to do that. Tarantula, Dr. Chaotica. I have read that tarantulas do fine in small habitats as long as they don't take up more than 1/4 of the habitat. So as you can see right now, he is still a baby, so he is good in that. I have moved him up from one small habitat to that. He came in this little small cup, so I moved him up to that once he shed a few times. My firebelly toad is in there. Where, I don't know, actually. He loves to splash all the water out of his bowl. Ah, there he is. And his name is Simon. This enclosure was also inspired by Reptilian Garden with the substrate I bought from Josh's Frogs, which is a natural bioactive substrate. I just wanted to try it out with something small and see how it worked. And for the most part, I really like it. I don't really know how much firebelly toads poo, but I don't seem to notice any funk from him, so, and his plant's really happy growing in there. As far as lights on him, I have this full spectrum light that I just turn on for daylight hours. It's not UV, and it does provide some ambient temperature heat, but I don't worry too much about him as far as temperature. Now, when it gets to be cooler, I will probably bring in some heaters in this room or add a heat mat. Next to him is my banana ball, Esmeralda. You can see her there. She's wondering if I'm going to feed her. And she is in a 20-gallon. She loves these climbs. They're like, they're these guys actually. Got them on Amazon. They're pretty cool. They have suction cups, so they compress to fit your tank, although they really don't work in anything I've found much bigger than a 20. I've tried them in my lower tank down there, which is a 40, and they don't quite get the traction. But I keep her on Aspen for now. I know there is some debate about that as far as does that hurt their scales, should it get into in between their scales. I find for me the aspen works really well. I fluff it up so that she can have more enrichment winding through it. She does have a moss hide, a sphagnum moss hide there. And of course her water dish, which she goes in, but only at night. She's very secretive about that. Below in my 40, I have my California King chocolate banded Herschel. And he is in another cage from set up from Josh's Frogs. It is bioactive, so of course it has the various levels of substrate bought from them, and sphagnum moss, and he's got a couple of natural hides. I recently went to all plastic with my snakes because I had a outbreak about a year ago of mites from using natural wood, and I don't think I'll ever go back because trying to get rid of mites was a nightmare. It was fine, but I've moved to all plastic. Tacky as though that may be, I feel like it still looks pretty good in here. It still looks pretty realistic for him, and he seems to really like it. He's been not wanting to eat for me too much recently, but I think for a king snake, he could probably go for a little while because he usually eats about 2 large mice every week. And then I have some more Fosters that I'm keeping in the temporary huts there. Again, just temporary, and of course I make sure that the tops are really secure so there's no way they can push up because they are very strong, so they could open that themselves if they wanted. But everybody in here has substrate, well, except him, or her rather. She has an eye injury and I adopted her from somebody, so she's being treated, so she can only have the paper towel. But substrate to and keep up the humidity, a house and a water bowl, and I interact with them, you know, as much as I can. Hopefully they'll be adopted out to good homes soon through the Reptile organization. So that is my ta-da rack system. I'm pretty happy with it. And then I have this little setup that I actually got that was handmade. And this is my Merlin Tuttle bat photograph, which I love. Merlin Tuttle is the best if you're interested in bats. So I don't have anybody in there right now, but it's kind of an odd, funky shape. It was originally made for a boa, I believe, but the person was unsuccessful with it. So he donated it to me, and I've been keeping foster, what am I trying to say? Iguanas in it that are small. Since they're arboreal, they're pretty happy with that habitat. And then I can lay UVB and heat lamps up here. This is my little leopard gecko Saturn, who is fighting off an injury that he sustained. And so he's in a very simple tank, just a heat pad, no climbs, a house, and a water bowl. And he's a bit grumpy because I just force fed him. And this is my 40 long that I have Rocky, my ball python. He's actually right there. He's super sweet, really, really well acclimated to being with people. He has 2 hides, that one which is a dry hide, and then a moist hide there under that, a sphagnum moss. And of course he has his bamboo climb and some fake plants that I do moisture often. And he has 3 forms of heat right now, well actually 4 forms of heat. A heat mat that I don't have plugged in right now, but I will in the wintertime. And then a day heat with a ceramic heater and a night heat. He's actually coming to say hello. He's a pretty cool pastel ball. He's about 5 years old now. I'll see if he extends himself, and then I'll get another shot of him. And then lastly, I have my chameleon setup. I've had Boy George since he was a juvenile. And I've had him now, he's about a year and a few months old. And this setup, I kind of jerry-rigged together. It's the Repti Breeze, but it's a really old Repti Breeze, so now when you get Repti Breezes, they're quite nice, and they have a lot of ways you can attach things. But I have his UV on top, which if you're interested in chameleons, changing that UV bulb every 6 months, even if it's still working, is really important. And then he has 2 heats on here, 1 basking bulb and then 1 UVA. The UVA is hooked up to a sensor that is right here, which is detecting how hot it is in there, and if it goes below 80, that light will kick on, which you can see they're both on right now. And as far as the bottom, I found that just using plastic on the bottom is actually easy for me to wipe out and clean. I got a couple bird ladders in there. I got this sweet moss ball from Amazon, and I put a little cup in there, and that's his feed cup. I got a lot of fake plants that I have zip tied to the top. And that ladder is actually meant for a hamster, but he loves it, and he actually eats off that if I get him hornworms or things like that. And just a couple fake plastic plants at the bottom for ambiance, and also just for me to be able to mist, so it provides more moisture for him. And he eats once a day. He's actually kind of demolished most of that. I just put that in there before the video started. He eats usually green leafies and some sort of bug once a day, either a bunch of crickets or a bunch of mealworms, or if I'm feeling saucy, he'll get a hornworm. And then I do dust that with alternating between the chameleon vitamins and then the UVA, or not, sorry, not UVA, calcium without D, and then the calcium with D. So, and I probably should have a better schedule, but I just kind of do it as I remember it, like, oh right, 2 days ago I didn't dust, today I will. And that is my reptile room. Let's see if Rocky has, no, he actually went back in. He wasn't feeling too friendly today. It's the middle of the day, so he's tired. All right, thanks for watching, and hopefully have some more videos for you at some point.